Welcome to part 2 of this series, trying to locate the sons of Noah and where they really went to. In part 1, we were speaking about a son of Aram, Misa, or Massa. In this video we're looking at Elam, and Elam is the firstborn son of Shem. I want to first start with a story from the Bible to try and get an understanding of how important was Elam in the ancient world. Let's look to see this story. This is Genesis 14, and the time frame is it's after the great flood, but also after the Tower of Babel incident. And it says, "And it came to pass in the days of Amraphel king of Shinar, Arioch king of Elasar, Chedorlaomer king of Elam, and Tidal king of nations, that these made war with Bera king of Sodom, and with Bersha king of Gomorrah, Shinab king of Admah, and Shemeba king of Zeboam, and the king of Bela, which is Zoar." Now these are known as the 5 kings of the plain. And this confederation of kings made war with the 5 kings of the plain. And these kings, they descended from Ham. But I just want to show you this because it says 12 years they served Chedorlaomer. So it kind of shows the power of Elam in this time. But I just want to show you something from the book of Jasher, and he actually kind of tells us who this Amraphel king of Shinar is. And it says, and Nimrod son of Cush was still in the land of Shinar, and he reigned over it and dwelt there, and he built cities in the land of Shinar. Then it goes on to tell you the reason for some of the cities that he built and the names of them. But then it says here, and Nimrod dwelt in Babel, and he there renewed his reign over the rest of his subjects, and he reigned securely, and the subjects and princes of Nimrod called his name Amraphel. So there we see that Amraphel, that Nimrod was also known as Amraphel, and it's because it's saying that at the tower his princes and men fell through his means, so he was responsible. So after the Tower of Babel, Nimrod was still ruling in Shinar, and he still had princes and subjects, but now he wasn't that supreme leader ruling over all the princes. And we can see here it says, and Chedorlaomer king of Elam went away from the families of the children of Ham, and he fought with them and subdued them. Okay, so he's actually subduing the children of Ham, and he went to the 5 cities of the plain, and he fought against them, and he subdued them, and they were under his control. Okay, this shows that Elam was, at this time, an ancient power, and maybe one of the most powerful tribes at the time. Just to show you the importance of Elam. Now let's get, in part 1 we kind of spoke about the land of Elam. Now we want to try get a bit of a better idea from the book of Jubilees. And it says, and the first portion came forth for Elam and his sons to the east of the river Tigris, till it approacheth the east. And we spoke about the river Tigris in part 1, because we saw this detail here where it says Tigra, T-I-G-R, and we saw this is in the region of Tigray in northern Ethiopia. But we also have further down, actually I think this is a 1710 map, it's on a 1644 map, this region here called Tigray. Now this might make more sense for what we're looking at, because if this region is known as Tigray, can we see then that the land of Elam would be to the east of the Tigris, okay, or the Tigray region. If we just check that again, that detail. See that it's to the east of the river Tigris, the land of Elam. And here we can see Tigray further south, so we've got Tigray in this region, but also Tigray here, so the land of Elam would be to the east. So that detail would fit. Now it goes on to say about the land of Elam comprising the whole land of India. Okay, we're going to come back to that at the end. Now next it says, and on the Red Sea on its coast. Now we spoke about the Red Sea in part 1. This is connected to this Erythraean Sea by the Horn of Africa. So you could say Erythraean Sea or Red Sea. So that detail also fits, that the land of Elam has the Red Sea on its coast. But if we look at a map to see where they say ancient Elam was, okay, this is where they say ancient Elam was. This is modern day Iraq. You can see it doesn't have the Red Sea on its coast. So there's a discrepancy there with this region and the Book of Jubilees. Now it says the waters of Dedan. I haven't been able to find this one successfully, but let me just show you who we're dealing with, and let me show you the genealogy of Cush. I think it's here. Okay, so Cush has a son called Ramah, and he has Sheba and Dedan. So here's this Dedan. And Sheba is very famous because of the story of Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, the land of Sheba. And Cush also has a son called Seba. So this is connected to the Sabians. So we should maybe be looking for this Dedan in the region of the Sabian kingdom. Let me show you a map. So this is the realm of the Sabian kingdom, and it's both sides of the Red Sea. So in the region of modern day Yemen, but also the region of Abyssinia in Ethiopia. But this is still in the same region we're looking at. So we can see, it's in this region that we're looking at. And I have seen some scholars, they say there may have been a region here known as Dedan. So I wonder if this waters could be connected to the waters of Dedan. But there's also a Dedan in the line of Abraham. So we must also think about that. But we're still looking in the same region because the Dedan is connected to Cush, and it just shows you that we should be looking in this region. Okay, the next detail, it says, and all the mountains of Mebri and Elah. Now, I haven't been able to find Mebri. The closest thing I've been able to see so far is Mambrui, Kenya. And so this is not exactly the same, but it's the closest thing that I've seen in Kenya. And in the next detail where it says, and Elah. So it's kind of like combining this, like Mebri and Elah would be in a similar region. And for Elah there was actually quite a lot of options. And there is an option in Ethiopia, but also in Kenya. So that kind of makes me wonder whether it could be connected to this Mambrui as well. Because there's very famous mountains in Kenya, Mount Kenya and Kilimanjaro. So I wonder if these mountains are connected to the land of Elam. So if we just look at a map, okay, so we've got Ethiopia, Somalia, and here's Kenya. Maybe the land of Elam might have comprised even going to Kenya, the region of Kenya. But we still have to see, and if anything else comes up which is better options for Mebri and Elah. Okay, next it says, and all the land of Susan. Now Susan is a biblical character because Elam, Susan is actually a descendant of Elam, and it's a Susan where we get this word Susa, and we mentioned this in part 1, that Susa is a capital of Elam. So if we're looking for Elam in this region, we need to find Susa, and we do have this option for Susa. And you can see it also says Sanaa. What does that make you think of when you hear that? We're going to come back to that soon in the next part, in part 3. So we do have this option for Susa, which is important for Elam. And then it says, and all that is on the side of Parnak. Now this detail I'm still not sure about. I haven't been able to find anything conclusive on this. The only thing that I found that made me I was considering this land, Egypt, and that there was this place known as Karnak, and I just thought that was similar to Parnak, but I'm not sure if that's connected or not. So that's the closest thing I've found, but maybe we still need to make another discovery with this one. To the Red Sea, we've spoken about that, the Erythraean Sea, and the River Tina. Now, I haven't been able to find a river Tina, but I did find a river Tana. Let me show you. We have this river Tana in Kenya, and it empties itself into the Indian Ocean, which we've already spoken about as being connected to the Erythraean Sea or the Red Sea. So you can see that there was this connection between the river Tina and the Red Sea, or the Erythraean Sea. So it's not Tina, but we do have a river named Tana, and this is in Kenya as well. So we do have possibly these links to Kenya. So maybe this river Tana could be connected. Now it's not spelt exactly the same as Tina, but you know, in the ancient languages, the way they used vowels is not the same as today, and the vowels are interchangeable. So it might not be that fanciful to connect this Tana to Tina, but until we find an actual river Tina, this is the best thing that I've seen, and it does kind of fit some of the things we've already spoken about this region of Ethiopia and maybe Kenya also being connected to the land of Elam. And it also it connects to the Red Sea and Erythraean Sea. That's another important detail, is that this river empties itself into what may be known as the Erythraean Sea or the Red Sea. So that's another detail that does support this. Now, I said I wanted to come back to this whole land of India. Now, this is very, very important because I found this article which speaks about the so-called confusion between India and Ethiopia. Now, it's quite a short study, but I'm not going to read you all of it. Just a few things I'm going to pick out. But you can read it if you want to, because it's very fascinating. Let's just read some of these parts. It says here, now this is a confusion between India and Ethiopia. It says, Caesarion, who was said to be Cleopatra's son, was sent by his mother with much treasure into India by the way of Ethiopia. But we do not know where to locate this India, in East Africa or India proper. So when it says India proper, that's speaking about the land of India that we know today. You see how there's this confusion with East Africa. Let's just see a few other things. It says here as well, in fact, it was not until the 19th century that the confusion was seriously investigated. Okay, and this Schwanbeck, who was first scrutinizing Greek and Latin literature, listed the data relating to Libya, Ethiopia, which had been transferred in India and vice versa. He also offered the first real explanation for this amazing confusion. So he's calling it an amazing confusion. And he says it's about this phenomenon with the gaps and inaccuracies of the Greek and Roman knowledge. And the description goes on to explain this confusion with India and Ethiopia. Just a few more things I wanted to show you. Now here it says, Homer praises the Ethiopians who dwell sundered in twain, the farthermost of men from where Hyperion sets, and some where he rises. So I think this Hyperion is connected to the sun, so it's saying, you know, where the sun sets and where the sun rises. So it's saying these Ethiopians are in the east and the west. And this Ethiopian is a Greek word, and it means burnt faces. That's how when the Greeks saw these people with dark skin, with black skin, that's how what that referred to them as, burnt faces. So that's what Ethiopian means. So it's the land of the black people, is what you'd be saying if you say Ethiopia. But just to show you that there's this Eastern Ethiopians and Western Ethiopians, it's a very important detail. And you see it goes on to say here, look, that there were Ethiopians of Asia. Okay, just the last thing from this study. See how it says, in the opposite direction, the name India was applied to some parts of East Africa. You see how important that could be for this Book of Jubilees, because it's saying the whole land of India. So what does it mean by this? We can't be entirely sure what it means, because if we just look at this map. So we're looking in this region here for Elam, but now Jubilees is saying that the land of Elam comprises the whole land of India. So then we might think we might be in the wrong place if we're looking here. But you can see with this article we might not be in the wrong place because of this confusion that some parts of East Africa were known as India. So does this Jubilees mean that the whole land of India, is it speaking about this region, the regions in here in Ethiopia, or is it actually speaking about regions of India proper? But just to show you that we're not necessarily in the wrong place by looking here with this article. So it's very important. You see it says here, various pieces of evidence going back to the 1st and 2nd century CE clearly show that certain areas of East Africa were called India. So we're going to come back to this throughout the study because this could be a vital study for this work that we're going to do. So that kind of speaks about this with this whole land of India. Now, I saw this verse in the Bible. I was reminded of this verse in the Bible I want to read to you. And it says, this is Esther 1. It says, now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus, it's so tricky to say this, Ahasuerus, I think it's known as Xerxes, so we're going to stick with Xerxes. Now it came to pass in the days of Xerxes, this Xerxes which reigned from India even unto Ethiopia. So this is a Persian king, okay, of the Persian Empire, and it's showing how he reigned from India even unto Ethiopia. So we see this connection again between these two regions. There's a connection between these two regions, and it might be explained by this detail from Jubilee saying the whole land of India connected to Elam. And the reason why there could be this connection between India and Elam and the Persian Empire is because of this detail in Josephus where it says and the ancestor that the Persians actually come from Elam. See that? So the ancestors is the Persians. So it's saying here that the Persians come out of Elam. That might explain this verse, why this Persian king Xerxes ruled from India even unto Ethiopia, because of this connection between Elam and India. So I hope you're finding this video very interesting, and I think we're getting a better idea about the land of Elam. And I just want to show you a few other connections, that there are connections with India. So I just want to show you that there is this connection with Elamo-Dravidian languages. There may be a connection with Elam to the Dravidians and to the Tamil people. So this is an interesting study. So there definitely is a connection between Elam and India. And I saw this one, this Tamil Elam. Is that also maybe connected to Elam? Now I'm not sure about that, but it's just caught my eye. And there is a connection with Elam and Dravidians and Tamils. Maybe more information will come to light about this. Now the final thing I wanted to speak about is just something a little bit out of the box, an idea, and it's to do with the Pangea. I just want to show you, I think I've got a Bible verse. I just want to find it. I think it's here. In Genesis, when Genesis tells us about the creation of the heavens and the earth, and this part here where it says, and God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear, and it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And God saw that it was good. So it's saying that the waters were gathered together unto one place. So that makes me imagine that the water is in one place, so the land also must be in one place, one land mass. So we wonder how the earth may have looked in the ancient times, in the ancient world. But this made me think about Pangea. I don't know if you've heard about this or looked into this, but I saw this picture and I thought it was very interesting. Let me show you. Now obviously this is not a real, this is just a recreation, an image, digital image, so it's not real, but I couldn't help notice how on this image, how they've connected India to Africa. You see how it connects, and we've got Ethiopia, we've got Kenya, and you've got India connected to it. So I just thought that was, obviously it's a bit out of the box, it's just speculation, but I also wonder when it says here that the whole land of India was for Elam, whether there may be some truth to that in a way, that India was maybe connected. So the land of Elam may have been partly in Ethiopia, Kenya, and maybe also India. Maybe that can explain this connection between India and Ethiopia, and this connection with the Elam and the Dravidians and the Tamil people. So obviously that's a speculation, but a little bit out of the box, but couldn't help but wonder if this could be something to this. I think that's going to be it for this video. In the next video we're going to be looking at Ashur and the Assyrians, and that might help us with this picture that we're looking at, because if we're looking at Elam in this region, if we study Ashur, his brother, it might strengthen and help us and show us that we're not that we're looking in the right place. So until that video on Ashur, take care, and we'll see you in the next one.